Okay, we're on. Okay, I'd like to call the Student Achievement Committee meeting to order on November 5th, 2025 at 4 p.m. And we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. I don't know if we can vote. Oh, here's Jamie. Yay. Hi, Jamie. Now we can vote. Okay, we're on item number 3, approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Bob and who's second? Second, Lindsay. Bob and Lindsay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, number 4, approval of the minutes of September 24th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
I didn't see anything. Good. Lindsay approved.
Second.
Bob,
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, item number 5, update on play-based learning with Principal Murray.
That was a quick.
You're on.
Right.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this.
This is going to be fun. So I'm Deb Murray from Brewster School. And we're going to talk about all of the great things that we've been doing at Brewster School since the beginning of last year when we began implementation of play-based learning strategies at Brewster School. So as Jean Piaget, I'm going to go on to my next slide if I can, but I can't. I don't know why, two of my arrows won't work. So as Jean Piaget says, play is the work of childhood. And that is what we believe at Brewster School. And tonight we're going to discuss that relationship between play and executive functioning and how those things come together to bring us success in our academics from a very young age. Not used to not using the arrow. So we're going to begin by telling you a little bit more about, I know that Liza talked to you guys a little bit in June about play, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper than Liza had initially gone. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what play exactly is and what do we mean by playful learning or play-based learning and what that truly means. It's more than just children pulling out a bucket of Legos and playing on the carpet. It's very intentional. It has meaning attached to it. It's linked to standards and linked to learning. And it encourages our kids to be collaborative, to be problem solvers, to work together, to build skills, improve their discourse, improve problem solving, whether it be with conflict with peers even, or just problem solving and trying to figure out a problem that they are given as a task. So play is really on a continuum, and I hope that you can see this somewhat. But there is a continuum of what we consider play. It starts out with that free play that we all think about what you do in the living room when you're sitting at home and have that bucket of Legos and the child just sits and does what they choose to do at recess. We consider that free play. Children get to choose what they want to do and how they want to play. And then it slowly creeps into a educator guided play. So an educator guided play is really what we're focusing on at Brewster School when we're talking about play-based learning. It's collaborative play and playful learning. It's educator guided and directed, where the educator may be setting up a scenario for the children, whether it be those big, huge learning scenarios when you saw the grocery store, or smaller scenarios like a provocation, where you saw the children bring their provocations to the board meeting last February, if you recall. And they showed some of the provocations or challenges that they did within their stations during play. So our hopes are to stay within that realm of the continuum of that little sweet spot of collaborative and playful learning, where children are able to be guided for learning as opposed to the free play area. Of course, there's opportunities for free play at Brewster School, during recess, during morning entrance and things like that. They do have those opportunities, but they also have the opportunities for learning. We also consider the Bloom's taxonomy for learning. To give you a little rundown of what that really means, the Bloom's is levels of understanding and rigor. So at the lowest rigorous stage is remembering. So that's what we consider our lowest level of learning. And our highest level of rigor is within creating, evaluating, analyzing. And that's where playful learning really falls. Children are creating, they're evaluating, they're analyzing to create new things from different mediums that they're given. And so it's really considered the highest level of learning. When we implemented our grocery store scenario last year, one of the standards that they incorporated within the grocery store, one of many, was the Make 10, and with their 10 frames. And the children showed the highest level of mastery of that standard that we'd seen since I've been here in kindergarten, because
You
the
mean by
children
show
were.
10?
Make 10 is, so they have a 10 frame is what they call it. It's broken up into 10 parts, 5 on top, 5 on the bottom. And the children make different forms of 10. So they might have 5 red chips, and then they talk about how they can make 10 from that 5 red chips starting. So they start with 5 red chips. Okay, what do you need to do to make 10? They need to add 5 more chips. So they're making different forms of 10, like fact families. If you
What
think about
grade
it
is
in that
that?
respect,
Is that in kindergarten or?
that's kindergarten. So that's one of the kindergarten standards in mathematics.
When they add the second 5, do they sometimes add it like in different combinations, like 2, 3, or 4, 1,
Two
or is it
digits.
just all 5?
Just two
Just the
digits
2
in
digits?
kindergarten,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
They
I
start
thought,
to
I don't,
incorporate
how
3
do they do
digits.
that? How do they add that? Do they put articles in there? How do they do that?
When they're just using a base 10 frame, they might just be using chips if they're doing it on the side.
Okay,
If they're doing it in like during their grocery store
Yep.
scenario, they might be using coins and money. There's
Yeah.
different things you can use. They
okay,
might use little bears. So.
Okay.
yeah.
How do you tell the difference between remembering and understanding?
The difference between remembering and understanding. So let me think if I can think of an example. Some of the examples listed below remembering are lists, find, name something, identify something, locate something on a map, describe or memorize something like a math fact. Where understanding, an example might be summarizing something you read, explaining a passage that you read, inferring something. So it's a little bit higher. You're showing your understanding through summary or interpretation, where you're remembering, you're just recall. It's just a recall. And when you're creating something, you have to remember, understand, and do all of those things. And it's a higher level of learning.
just one other question. When they do the 10s, do they always start with 5, or could they
No,
start?
that's just.
They could start with different amounts?
Mhm.
Okay,
So this is the foundation for our hot program, higher order thinking, basically, this is it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's value to all of these little parts. I mean, we certainly know there are things where vocabulary is important, so remembering and identifying the word, and I mean, everything is important. It's not like you just jump over everything.
That's right.
But it's used in different contexts
There's
and taught at
different-
different times.
Yeah,
sometimes.
there's different points in your day where you're working on remembering certain facts, remembering and understanding and applying those things. And then the culmination is really like a learning scenario. So a learning scenario is the culmination of all of that learning you've been doing, from learning basic addition facts, learning, identifying numbers and letters. So kindergarten's very basic. And then they're kind of bringing all of that learning together and applying it.
And teachers certainly use all these as part of their learning objectives for a day. I mean, there are times when identifying is an important thing, but then certainly synthesis in the upper levels are important as well, if you can work it into it. Yeah, it's all valuable stuff, certainly, and the teachers certainly use this all the time.
Absolutely.
Lindsay, you use this?
Is it always a 10 block or would they start with an 8 block and a 4
No, it's
block?
always a 10.
It's always the 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So me as a principal. So for me, play is not a separate time of your day. It's really how learning really happens. Because as I explained with the Bloom's taxonomy, really our highest level of learning occurs when we're in that stage of learning and when we're creating and problem solving. And that's where learning really takes place. So when we're involved in play, that's where students learn best. And that's where we see over historically, like children learn from playing. When they're at home in their homes and they're playing Legos, there's learning going on. They're figuring out how things fit together, how they can create new things. That's all part of the problem solving of the brain that they develop. And then hopefully someday they're not just parallel playing with their brother or sister, and they start collaborating with their brother and sister very nicely. That's always mom and dad's.
It's very
hopes and
effective
dreams,
with
right?
larger families too, you know, you sit in a, we have some large families in Middlefield, I'm blessed to be part of them and hang out in their households and.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you got 6 kids in one household, there has to be a little bit of
Yeah.
order and, you know, the older ones taking on the younger ones and all, it's beautiful,
Let's see. So play linking to standards. We touched upon this a little bit. We're talking about the 10 frame. So within literacy, we can link it to standards within storytelling, within vocabulary, comprehension, decoding, encoding, oral language. Oral language is a huge piece. It really helps children develop that oral language. There's a lot of discourse that goes on when children are playing, whether it be during a station, whether it be during the scenario, whether it be during some of the strategies that I'm going to show you in a minute, that we do on a daily basis. In mathematics, it's the counting, the sorting, the patterning, the measurement. Social studies and science, it's observing, predicting, taking those real world problems and really applying them to some of their learning. This year, kindergarten is working right now. They actually had Karen Gray in today, and they're working on their second scenario. They're going to do the grocery store in the spring again, but they're also working on their second scenario, which is going to be the fair. The fair.
Oh.
So it will be very exciting. There'll be midway and everything going on. And so we're super excited about that development. That'll be rolling out in January. And then they will roll out grocery store again in the spring.
Will the fair be taking over the Durham Fair?
I'm sure it will.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
That video from the grocery store, like I think about it all the time, it was such joy in it. They had so much fun. You could tell they were really, they were learning more in those moments than they were learning in, you know, a month worth of time.
Exactly. It's really a wonderful thing to watch, and they love it so much. So in first grade is developing their first learning scenario as well. It's in the beginning stages, so I can't tell you what their topic is firmly yet, so they're still deciding, but they are going to roll out a learning scenario this year too. So they're super excited. They're supposed to be doing it in January, February as well. So yeah. So keep going, and there's our cutie pies. So these are some children, they have their play plans. Because they plan their play before they begin each day. And so they're showing off their play plans with some of the materials they were working with here. And then executive functioning. So one of the pieces of why we play is executive functioning skills. So I've touched upon that a little bit earlier as well. So the 3 main executive functioning skills of self-regulation, working memory, and cognitive flexibility, with our youngest students in district from pre-K3 to our 6-year-olds in first grade, they are all working on their executive functioning skills. You can walk into any classroom and see who's working on it at any given time. They're all very young, and these are skills that develop over time. And those impulses and adapting to flexible situations and understanding that you have to wait your turn is all skills that we have to develop in our young students at Brewster School. And the teachers really purposefully work on those things daily. We have 12 strategies that we're implementing within play that all hit on executive functioning skills, and their purpose is to develop those skills. And I'm going to show you some of them, and I'm going to show you some of them in action in a minute as well, to show you exactly how they're helping our students develop in these areas. A big one is inhibitory control, controlling those inhibitions. So I don't have time to show you every single video because I timed all the videos I have in here and they're about 17 minutes long. And so I don't think you guys have time to see all of that. So I'm going to show you a couple of them and you can look at them later. So these are actually teachers in action. Over the last month or so, I did these videos. So it's really early kindergarten is what you're going to be looking at, and a little bit of early first grade. Where last year you saw grocery store, end of the year, very different children.
Mhm.
So beginning of the year kindergartners and end of the year kindergartners are very different. So the 12 strategies, I'm going to click on that. Oops, I'm going to click on that really quick to show you. In this little grid that you can peruse at a later time, it tells you each strategy, which is a component that we're working on at Brewster. And then what the purpose of that strategy is, in other words, what executive functioning skill it's working on, and then how they're practicing that in the classroom. Some of these strategies are linked on that slide, and I'm going to show you firsthand how we do that at our school and why we do it. So I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to show you the 6 bricks first, because this is a really fun one. So 6 bricks, this is a first grade classroom. And Miss Bernstein, if you don't remember her, she's a phenomenal teacher. And she is working with the students and modeling right now the 6 bricks to show them how to use them. They're literally 6 Duplo bricks, the bigger ones, in 6 different colors. And they, there are probably thousands of different ways you can implement this work with students. And it's really fun to watch. And it works on a lot of working memory is a big piece of it. Being able to hold things in your brain, being able to replicate what somebody else is doing with your back to them. So I'm going to let you watch it first and we can talk a little bit more.
Today in 6 bricks, you're going to work with a partner and you're going to stay back to back. One person will build, then you give the other person clues and directions, so theirs can match what yours is like without looking at it. So we're going to practice first, then move off the partner in different areas of the room. Remember, you don't want to sit near another partner too close, because then you can't hear one another. Connor, can you come be my partner? Let's sit back to back. And Connor, let's start with all our bricks flat on the ground. Tell me when you're ready. Mine are flat. All right, Connor. You need your orange brick on the bottom. On top of your orange is your red brick, exactly right on top. Then, on top of your red, you're going to take your light blue, and it's going to go onto the long side of the red, but only half of the red, so it should be hanging off. The light blue is hanging off the red. Then you need your green on the other side of the red, hanging off the other side. Tell me when you're ready. Okay, now on top of that light blue and green, you're gonna put the yellow, right in the middle to hold them both on. And then on top of the yellow is your dark blue. Tell me when you're done. Let's compare. Oh, very close, Connor. Very close. I like how you did this part that was hanging on. Excellent job.
So.
I was on the edge of my seat, I have to say.
So Miss Bernstein gave really good directions. She used really good prepositional words that described where to put it and how to place it. When the children then go off by themselves, so they struggle a little. And they don't necessarily always match like Miss Bernstein and Connor did as closely. And sometimes they struggle, I don't know what you mean, what do you want me to do? Because they have a hard time finding those words to describe, put it on top so it's hanging off just a bit. Two of the knobs are not show, so they use all, and so over time, what happens is, especially, we don't introduce this in kindergarten, we save it for first grade. And over time of the course of the school year, by the end of the school year, you're hearing the language develop, you're hearing their vocabulary and grammar developing, because they're learning if I use these words, and the teachers then start intentionally teaching those words to them. You can take these 6 bricks and you can do an adjective lesson. You can do, there's so many things you can do with it. That you can do so many things. You can do anything under the sun, prepositional lesson. Miss Swantek has done some phenomenal things with her students. There's so many things out there that are even already done that people are doing with the 6 bricks to teach, not just, you can just teach a standard using the 6 bricks. And
In
this,
those complex, directions, you know, you have to do this, but there's a second step to it.
yes,
There's so many kids
Yes.
as they get older, missing complex directions, and
Yes.
it's really hurting
Mhm.
executive functioning, so it's neat to
Absolutely.
see it that early and become a routine. It's
Mhm.
neat.
And as you see it, the focus is working memory, following directions, and planning. You have to plan how you're going to give those directions, how you're going to describe it. So it's really quite impressive to watch the students do
If
it.
you want to talk about an application in 6th grade science, there's the scientific method, you have to have a step-by-step process. And one of the things I would do with my kids is they would have to write down the directions of making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, give it to someone else, and that person would have to make it exactly the way it was
The way you
written.
wrote it.
And it was quite an eye-opener.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was quite an eye-opener.
Even the difference
But it's
between
a good
written and verbal.
application.
You know, I notice even one of my own kids struggles, like I can give him directions, he'll follow it, but if I give him oral directions and it's like 3 steps,
Yeah.
like he's missing steps. And it's always been like this, so we practice a lot. And he hates that I give him complex directions, but you know, it gets ingrained. It's neat.
So another strategy I can show you is who chooses first. This is an important one that people don't give it enough credit for. Because it looks really simple. But there's a lot of executive functioning that goes into it that you don't necessarily first think of. This is Mrs.
All right, we're ready to choose, so we're going to be following our who's first, okay? It looks like Aiden's gonna be following. I wanna make sure we're keeping an eye and watching our friend making a choice.
So I'm gonna pause it for 1 second. You see that little list? That is a list of every student in the classroom. And the little clip is clipped on the person of the day. And the person of the day is who gets to choose first for the day, whether it be for stations or whatever else they may do for that day. And then what happens is the next person after that gets to choose next and next and next. And you're gonna see how it's done. I want you to pay attention to how they're actually going up and finding their name and choosing.
Is that sure that was them? Oh, you can find you. Okay, and remember, magnified.
So. I want to like ask you questions. What did you notice? So
Is that how they're choosing a project for the day?
that's how they're choosing their station for play that day. So there's 4 different stations, sometimes 5, that they get to choose from. There's a lanyard, enough lanyards for 5 or 6 people to go to that station. And you have to wait your turn. So it's inhibitory control, waiting your turn. And the teacher didn't say anything, did she? By the end of kindergarten, they can literally walk to the other side of the room and have 0 involvement because they just know and they wait their turn. There are some students that have a hard time when there's no more block lanyards left and they wanted to play blocks today. So it's also, it's okay. Tomorrow's another day. You can play blocks tomorrow. And kind of just that inhibitory control, it's all right. So it's that letdown, and students have to be able to feel that letdown sometimes and be able to say, that's okay. I can do that tomorrow. And that's a huge executive functioning that we develop within the kids. And it happens so quickly. The first few times, especially in kindergarten, because they've never done it before, first graders are used to it now. But when we first introduced this in kindergarten, there's a lot of, I didn't get blocks kind of emotions. There might be some tears. There might be some upset children. But this was about, I think it was 2 weeks ago we filmed this. So this is like near the end of October. So almost 2 months into school. And that's where they are now. So it's a huge jump. And a huge growth that children have with just being able to use that inhibitory control and flexibility. That's a big one, cognitive flexibility. I want to show them all to you. I'm going to do play planning and then we'll move on. This is Mrs. Kaczynski again. She's something.
Okay, so Nora, you are going to play in blocks today, correct? All right, tell me about your plan. What did you draw here? So thinking about the germ fair, you thought I'm gonna make a roller coaster, and what letter did you put?
What is the first letter?
For R, that's right, and Ferris wheel, what do you hear at the beginning? And what letter makes that sound? Yeah. That was our new letter, we just learned that letter, that's awesome. And then what's this in the middle? Wow, you've got a great plan for blocks. Are you ready to play? All right.
So play planning evolves over the course of kindergarten. They start with a sketch of what they're going to do in that play station, whether it be blocks, Legos, Play-Doh, whatever they may be playing with that day, make a plan of what they're going to do. Sometimes the teachers give them a provocation, but for this station, it was just a block station. And they start out by doing a sketch, and over time, they're going to start to draw lines as they become stronger in their literacy skills. They're just learning their letters. She was able to put the first letters of the words she wanted to write in her sentence. By the mid-February, around February, you're going to start to see kids write, I will play blocks. I will build a tower. And they'll write those words in a sentence fully, and they'll use lines to do that. Our play planning is actually a sister strategy to the message of the day, where the teacher is actually writing their message of the day on lines with the children to model that for them. And over time, the children will then take that modeling into their play planning. So I'm going to move on because I'll talk all night about this if you like.
Boy, I can understand why. I want to see the rest of the videos, but
Yes, you can look at all the videos. So provocations, now I gotta get back. Provocations are what we use in some of our stations. And you can think of a provocation as like a challenge. we're trying to provoke a little bit more thinking, some more learning, and inspire the children to do more with what they're playing with and incorporate some of the learning that we're doing in the classroom. That's what you saw at the board meeting last year. That was a provocation. So Miss Kaczynski, again, she's like my star player today. She was using the Chicka Chicka Boom Boom book during some of their season and weather studies. And they talked about trees, and it also talks about the letters that they're learning. And they talked about weather and the seasonal changes. They've been talking a lot about that within their units right now. So first, I'm going to show you how she introduces the provocation in that station to the students. And then you're going to see a little bit of the children creating that. How am I doing on time, Sydney?
We have to think about time just because we have building committee at 5, so we have to make sure we get through.
Boys and girls, we're getting ready for our play centers, okay? Very soon, we're gonna get a chance to pick, do we want to go to blocks, do we want to go to town, Magnetas, Play-Doh? And if you notice, I have something new here on the board. All right, so I'm gonna tell you about this one. This station is gonna be something called a provocation, where I'm going to give you some materials and you're going to explore. We have been enjoying this book, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, right? This one is really fun. All the letters that go up in the coconut tree, and then it gets too heavy and they fall out of the tree. Well, I thought it might be fun. This station, I kind of call it loose parts, where I put a bunch of different materials for you. So you are going to, based on this book, you're going to build a tree. Now, you might want to build a coconut tree, but you might want to build a apple tree. We've been learning about apples, right? And how apples grow in our science. So you might want to build an apple tree. Maybe you want to build a fall tree because we've been talking about fall and the season. We're in the season of fall. So I have a lot of great things for you here. I have tundra pressers. These are like popsicle sticks, some Play-Doh. I have some pom-poms, I have some fall leaves, and I have our letters. We're also, Grayson, gonna be using blocks, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to think about what we've been learning about living things in trees and the weather and building some kind of a tree, but with a fun little twist. You're going to see if you can have some letters be up in your tree, okay? Just like in our story. Remember, they kind of
I'm gonna pause for our time's sake. So that's the introduction of the provocation. And then the students went back to their stations. I'll let you peruse that later. They went back to their stations and they built their trees if they were in that station that day. At some point in time, all the students will visit that provocation station. It's always expected at some point they're going to choose there. Sometimes they're guided to choose there if they haven't chosen that station yet, but they will have an opportunity, maybe not that day, but they will have an opportunity to be in that station to do that provocation.
If they don't
So
get it that day, do they remember what they have to do, or they have to do it over again?
she might remind students at the beginning when she does the who chooses first before they start their station, she might remind students what they're doing in that station. And she might go over to that station when the children all sit down and remind them if they have questions. So some other examples I put up here, if they're studying about different types of sturdy structures, provocation could be which one will you make today? What materials will you use? Build 2 ramps, which one allows the car to go faster, farther? What's your hypothesis? Using Play-Doh or other materials, create a habitat. So there are different things you can do to create those provocations. If you remember at the board meeting last year, that provocation was about creating a weather structure to protect you from the different weather elements, and that's what they created for you. They were quite cute. Learning scenario, I'm going to go through this quickly. You got to see the grocery store last year. It's linked in here again. So the grocery store scenario that we did last year was wonderful. We're going to incorporate some more. Like I said, it is a long process. It takes a lot of planning. A lot of the really big brunt work for the teacher is the pre-planning. And that's what we've been doing over the course of the last few months is planning for those scenarios. And Karen Gray has been coming to visit us to continue that work with us. She's phenomenal. So the first couple of weeks of the scenario, they really build background with students to build that knowledge base. So they have the background to actually do that creating within the scenario. And then they play it out within their stations during the scenario work. So I have linked here the grocery store again for you. I'll be happy to share some videos of the new scenarios with you after we do them this winter. And you can see within the scenario planning, all the elements that go into the planning. They write essential questions, they take out the priority standards, they link it to their current curriculum units within the content areas. They figure out how they're going to build background. Are they going to go up to a grocery store and visit there? Are they going to watch some videos online of different grocery stores, read some books about grocery stores? So there's all different ways to build that background, vocabulary, and knowledge. And then they figure out what roles are going to be within the grocery store and they plan all that out and help the children make their props and all that great stuff. I'm going as quick as I can to wrap this up. So impact and next steps. So obviously student engagement is at a really high peak during play in our classrooms. Students are very engaged. We never see student conflict, and I can say the word never because we never see student conflict during play. Sometimes you'll see them start saying, you know what, I had that first, and they'll actually work it out themselves. And it's, the word is never. We have never had a conflict with students playing. Their language is developed. The teacher has positive reflections that's rigorous. So our next steps, we're going to continue our professional learning on executive functioning with Karen Gray. The kindergarten team is actually going to be presenting at the Play Summit in December at the University of Hartford. They were invited to actually present there. So they are preparing for that as well, which is super exciting and a big, humbling, very nice thing to ask someone to do something like that. They're nervous Nellies. But I'm super excited for them. So this 5 of them and Deb Mariani, our coach, will be going up to West Hartford to do that at the University of Hartford, which is phenomenal that we can represent RSD 13 doing that. And closing. So thank you for your support of all of this. We can't do it without the support of the Board of Education. We appreciate that. And if you have any questions.
No, it's just amazing. I don't think you remember, if anyone remembers last year, we were the model on play-based and we hear it farther out from here. I was sitting at a board of directors meeting for CABE a couple of weeks ago, and one of the districts in Fairfield was talking about 113 was one of the models for play-based learning, and it's huge to be.
We have a lot of districts that come visit us.
Yeah.
We just had Derby District come visit us a couple weeks ago, and they perused and they get to walk through our classrooms and see the work that we're doing and speak with our teachers. So it's really quite wonderful to highlight the district in this way.
Yeah, a couple of the comments said that, they had a harder time rolling it out, and so they were observing other districts, and it's gone well since they've observed. So it's a huge testament to what you guys are doing.
Yeah, you should be really proud.
I am very proud. This is like a big thing in my heart. It's very close to me. So I'm very happy with how it's going at Brewster and how the teachers have taken it on and really committed to it. And it's wonderful to see. Makes my heart happy.
And timing wise, it'll be good to just extend this into grades 2 through 4 in Lyman, just so we can keep carrying it forward.
They did have the professional development last year,
Yeah.
which is great. So they saw all the 12 strategies. And then we'll continue to move it through.
There's other staff who are very much into this as well. If I remember, Lucia,
Yeah,
Yes.
this is Lucier. Yeah.
thinking somebody else. I'll come to it in a minute.
Yeah,
We've had
Play is very
presentations
close
on
to her heart as well.
Play-based,
So
yeah.
it's-
Do the parents tell you they repeat this at home?
I've heard that, but we did show our kindergarten families, our new kindergarten families this year, the grocery store scenario during open house. And they were just floored. They were so excited that their children were gonna be able to take part in that. So that was very
Nice.
exciting to them.
Linda, do you have anything? Linda's online. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything or say anything. Do you want me to pull you in? Nope, okay.
I'm sorry this was so long.
Wow,
appreciate
it's
it.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be able to access the link? Is that something that
Yes.
would be?
Yeah.
So
You
to
can
all
have
the
the
board
whole
members?
presentation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I sent it to Sydney so she can share it out to you guys.
okay. Perfect, because I'll have a chance to. look
And you're
at it.
welcome to come see us play anytime.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep. Just let me know if you want to come and I can schedule a time for you to visit. And when we do our next scenario in January, February, I highly suggest you come and visit the kids playing. We're actually going to invite families to come in this time. And so
Wow.
we're going to have them come while they're doing the scenario and schedule them throughout a week.
Yeah.
For families to come in and partake in it as well with their children. So I can't wait.
Wow.
Okay, so just let me know and I can have you come in anytime.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
Do I move up 7?
Item number
7 done?
6. We're gonna move
And
along.
the other ones will be pretty
Okay.
quick. So just, I wanted to make sure this committee knew that, Liza and I have been working with Learn in a small contract for multilingual learners. We do have an increase in multilingual learners, and so what we wanted to really focus on was having a system in place that works, that's really, designed to meet our district's needs. There's nothing that we need immediately right now. We've had to make some changes with our ML teacher. I just want to give a little heads up in the budget process, maybe not next year, but in a future year, you might see a request for an assistant to that person, you know, as opposed to another teacher, but maybe an assistant. Because what we're finding is as we get this system into place, which is generally going well, right? We're getting everything organized, but we have one multilingual learner teacher who's going to 4 different schools. So scheduling becomes really difficult. So we're gonna try and, we're gonna make sure that we schedule the best that we can now, but in the future, and being at Memorial will help that, having everybody, you know, like going to one place will help, but I just wanted you to have some awareness that, it's the shared position going among all of the different schools that is presenting a little bit of a challenge right now.
How many multiple language learners do we have?
24, is it? 23. 23, yep. That's right.
Liza, you may or may not be familiar. I mean, Connecticut has a program for students who have multiple languages, it was 2. They can have that designation on their diploma upon graduation, so you're familiar with, I presume. And that's a wonderful thing. I mean, that's just extremely valuable in this day and age to.
Yeah, the seal of bioliteracy, and that's available in several languages.
Yep.
Mhm.
This,
Fantastic.
Okay. Item number 8, course approval, cultural cooking. We were sent some copies of the scope and sequence and then the program request. I don't know if anyone has any. Now, this would be considered a language.
This is
A
an
language
elect-
credit or
it's an
0.5?
Elective. It's an
It's an
elective.
elective.
It's an
Okay.
elective within the world language department, but it is not a world language requirement credit.
Okay.
It's an elective.
But doesn't satisfy that 1 year? So,
No. I asked them.
Now, when would this be, when would this happen? When would the
So-
course?
If I want to
When would
make
it be
sure I'm wrapping
available?
my head around the court's approval schedule, so if I remember correctly, if you approve this to continue in the process, then there would be more of a full-fledged curriculum that would come in May, and then the course could actually be offered in the 26-27 school year.
Okay.
Yes.
just from a logistical point of view, I mean, it seemingly is a classroom environment. But with the occasional, now we're actually gonna practice something in that facility right across
Yes.
from here.
It's going to be scheduled, when that class is open, that room is open.
Yeah.
So,
certainly,
you know, there's several periods in the day and
Yeah,
that's used for some periods, but not others. So that would be scheduled
Yeah.
when that's available.
sometimes things of this sort can be a little bit difficult among staff, meaning like, oh, they left the place a mess, whatever. I mean, things like this get messy. When they do that cooking, I would highly encourage students to really basic structure when it comes to safety, because kids can get hurt, you know, if they don't realize it, but unrestrained hair, and I'm not talking just putting on gloves, that doesn't mean anything, but basic safety stuff that I think would be the first thing before they even walk into that kitchen. Because, you know, not a lot of kids get involved with cooking so much, and it certainly can present problems for that.
We do have Linda with a hand up, so I'm just gonna bring her in to talk. Linda, you're on.
Yeah, she's trying to figure out the
You can hear
controls.
me?
Yes.
Can you hear? You can hear me? Oh, sweet. So I'm just, how is this a world language class? How is it aligned to either the state or the national world language standards?
So the standards are coming from the World Language Standards of Interpersonal Communication, Cultures, Connections, and Presentational Communication, and so on. All the words and expressions that go along with the units come through the Spanish language. So it is not just cooking, and in fact, in talking with Kate Tremont, she said that cooking is part of it, but it is not the main focus. It's a cultural and language Spanish course where they will do enrichment through cooking.
So I am dubious. Just words and phrases is not interpersonal communication. It's memorization of vocabulary. So I'd be interested. And again, I apologize if we received more information on this and I haven't gone over it. So that's on me. I just, you know, it feels like a square peg in a round hole. It doesn't sound like a world language class.
So Linda, there's a scope and sequence that went out for it. I don't know if that's what you didn't get
Yeah.
to see yet.
I probably didn't. And again, I apologize because it's not right to have an opinion if I didn't look at it. So I will make a point to look at it before the next meeting so that I can have an informed opinion. But again, so I did hear you say though that it's not going to count as a world language credit. Is that correct?
It can count as a humanities elective.
Okay, but so if there's a X number of years required of world language, it doesn't qualify as that.
Right,
No.
correct.
All right. So again, I apologize. I didn't look at it. But again, I'm pretty dubious that it should be considered a world language class. If there's no, yeah, I won't. I'll look at it before I have other opinions.
Right, so it's a world language elective, but it doesn't count for the world language class that we would be thinking of it for the requirements.
And so, yeah, again, I just don't see how it's a language class, but that's because I haven't read it. So when did we receive that?
I just forwarded it to you.
Awesome.
We got it for the
It came
student
with the-
achievement.
Yeah, it was in the committee
Came with the
packet
agenda.
materials.
Oh, got it. Yeah. No, and again, I apologize that I didn't look at it. So put me on hold and I'll be right back.
Okay.
I like that you're looking at Mexican, Spanish, Peru. I mean, it's pretty extensive. Cuba, Colombia, Argentina, and the Caribbean and Central American. So it's really quite expansive. And it also said here that the classes would be taught not only in English, but sometimes in Spanish as well.
Correct.
So
Yes. And this
I
is
think they'll
also,
pick up more than just this vocabulary. They should pick up other vocabulary as well.
And the elective is meant to be accessible by many different levels.
Yep.
It's neat too, because it kind of forms like an exploration and maybe an interest in world language. So, because I know having it be a requirement now, it's harder to get kids that just aren't interested in it. So if a ninth grader is like, no, I'm not ready, maybe this is their jump between that, so.
Okay.
I'm all for anything that is gonna create student engagement. Things of this sort is actually exciting to kids, and that's what we need. In this case, and we can also integrate a little bit of math when it comes to their recipes, when they actually get ready to go in the kitchen. Geez, we need to scale this up or down. There's a lot of little components that can kind of utilize different parts of our learning resources to the kids. And obviously, it's not a language course. We know that. That's fine. To me, one of the most valuable things though is really, we get blamed all the time. Our community is just not as diverse as it should or could be. And it's a wonderful opportunity for kids to certainly integrate and understand things. If at all possible, logistically, go visit a Latin market somewhere. We're blessed in Connecticut to have numerous ones. I think it's so valuable for kids to go into a place where they are the minority. They need to be not like everybody else and feel that it's really extraordinarily valuable for somebody to say, okay, look, and anytime I've done this, I've done numerous things like this, going field trips and that. And, when students are out of their element and they also realize people are saying, they look and they say, what are you doing here? But then they're friendly and say, you know what I do with this particular plantain? I do this. And it's an extremely valuable resource. I found just wonderful things coming of it. Field trips are not, obviously that might not be a doable thing, but if it could be, that'd be really awesome.
That,
I would
that
think
ties
so.
in well, and I'll suggest it to her.
Yeah.
They
Thank
could
you
walk
for
down
bringing
Main
this. The
Street in
next-
Middletown and have every flavor they could find.
The next step would be to develop the essential questions and all that, and that would probably take a little while.
Right.
Right.
Have you looked at student interest, or didn't get that far?
It's a
So
huge
this-
culinary interest, right?
This was based on, student.
Oh, it was?
interest.
Oh,
This
good.
is a,
So
so
it probably will
cooking,
happen then.
cultural cooking is part of a Spanish 4 class. It's
Yeah.
one of the units in Spanish 4. And the students in that absolutely love it. And then some other students wanted to do that as well, but they're not in Spanish 4. And so this will allow
Oh.
those students to access the similar experience while still learning some Spanish, but not being at Spanish 4 level.
Yeah.
Maybe satisfy some of those. We had a huge amount of one wanting foods.
Yeah.
Projects is not sure.
Yep.
Linda's
Looks exciting.
Linda, you're on again.
Thank you. Yeah, again, so if you have students in there who have completed Spanish 3 and you have the students who have never taken Spanish in there, some of the objectives, it talks about being able to read a recipe and a text that and again, without, the standards, those are big buckets, but there's also lists of at what grade level, at what age, there's no grammar. This appears to be memorizing some knee-jerk kind of vocabulary. I really need to see a lot more. If it's going to be, I don't know if you can call it a humanities class. I think it's a great class. I'd love to take it. I'd love to eat there. But I'm not seeing it as a world language class. Is it classified as world language because that's from which it came? Like, oh, it's a Spanish 4. Who's going to teach it? If the current teacher who's teaching it leaves, who's going to teach it? I don't think, I have a lot of questions. I'm happy to sit down with Deb and the teacher because it doesn't necessarily come through on the paper because it's meant to be brief. But I just have concerns. If a Spanish 4 kid takes it and the language is accessible to a Spanish 1 teacher, to a Spanish 1 student, then that Spanish 4 student is taking a Spanish 1 class and getting credit for it. So I have concerns with it being called world language. If it can be called humanities, cool, but it's not a language class.
I think it is a humanities elective, right?
An elective.
It's a
yeah.
humanities elective. I think, Linda, I think you might be kind of stuck in thinking of it as a world language requirement class, but it really is a humanities elective.
Where does it sit in the catalog, or where would it sit? Would it sit within world language, or is it gonna sit in humanities?
We don't have a humanities section. So like, and we have all different levels in, say, many different classes of electives.
Right.
So if you're taking elective and it's a certain PE class, some students and they're doing basketball, some students are on a travel team and some are just picking it up. And so the teacher then has to differentiate the instruction for that student.
Right.
So in an elective situation, that would be similar.
So why is it not being offered as a culinary arts class?
Because that's not the main focus. The
I
main
would,
focus.
I 100% disagree. That is the main focus. The language pieces in here are superficial. And again, I'm happy to sit and talk to the teacher so I can learn more.
Okay. Do you, I guess the committee has to be comfortable with it, at least moving on to the next step at this stage, right? Okay.
So,
Yeah. We could do that.
It seems like the cooking part is like the capstone
Right.
part of it.
Still
We're gonna
got
explore the
discussion.
culture,
Yeah.
gonna learn some of the language and the lingo and the vocabulary. And then put it all together in something tangible that people can smell and touch and taste and
towards the end of
all
the
that.
unit.
Yeah, it's not a cooking class. and-
No, it's not a
It's
cooking
not.
class.
Right. And it's not a world language class.
Right.
Right.
Taking
It's
that-
not a cooking class, but it's also not a world language class.
right.
So if it can be someplace other than in the world language department, I think it looks like a great class. And I understand that it's not going to fulfill a requirement, but I think it's very disingenuous to call it a world language class, as disingenuous as it would be to call it a culinary arts class, because it's neither.
How about a social studies elective?
I think that is much more accurate. But yeah, I mean, but I don't know what it, again, then you have to align it to those standards. If it's a humanities class and you create that kind of if you create that kind of a category, who's to say there aren't other classes that would fit in it? Or if it's the only class in that department at this point. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
So in our current world language offerings, I believe we have world health, correct? That's in, and that's in a similar elective boat.
Yeah.
To this. It's not Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3, and so on. It's an elective within the realm of world language and culture.
Being
That
taught by
has
a
a
world
world
language
language and
teacher.
culture.
Taught by a world language teacher.
Right,
yes.
and it wouldn't necessarily, and doesn't, from my understanding, meet specific level language requirements.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on the board when that one got approved. So the fact that it exists doesn't mean it falls into the same, it doesn't mean it's okay to me. And again, is that, I know there's many courses out there that you can purchase that are soup to nuts. The idea is to prepare people to be a bilingual EMT, to be whatever. And I feel more comfortable with that than something that's home brewed, designed. Are there any requirements for any prerequisites for the quote unquote world health class?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Because
can check on
like,
that.
can a French student take it? So again, it just, I would be comfortable with it being, whether it's a humanities class or something at this point, because I don't know enough about it. I'm not comfortable, but I'm only one person, dude. I mean, I'm always talk my opinion about this stuff. If other people feel comfortable, I don't, but I'm only one person.
The health program had a connection to a doctor's office or a hospital in somewhere in South America. And so they did correspond in English and in Spanish on medical activities that were going on, and they participated in those things. So, and most of it was bilingual, as far as I remember, going back and forth, so.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Would it hurt a timeline just to bring this back you guys could bring this back for next student achievement meeting, or is there an
We
approval?
have
just
one
in a
more
couple
meeting that
months.
we could do it until
Yeah, Jan-
approval, right?
There's a meeting in a couple months.
Or you can make a special meeting.
Well, I think if Linda wants time to meet with the teacher, but I think we need to know how everybody else on the committee feels about just letting it move forward at this stage.
I like the course, I think it should go forward.
I'd like to see it go forward, yeah.
But I think.
In the
we need to
meantime,
figure out How
though.
to call it and how it fits at a later time.
Right.
I see
Okay.
Dr. Darcy's concern though about, okay, I mean, Mr. Mond is passionate about that, and I think that is a good curriculum driver. Actually, I know, Linda, you don't. But, if we have somebody willing to do this and that wants to put their heart and soul into it, and it can be, something that can be developed over time and get other teachers interested in it, I think that's a learning opportunity for all the teachers.
Yeah, if it's a matter of semantics in terms of where it's placed, that's, you know, the course itself is valuable to continue. In the meantime, Linda, I can either suggest that maybe you know, as you take a look at this a little bit more, maybe you might want to jot down your questions and thoughts and send them along if you feel like doing that. And then perhaps we can take a look at that. And, okay. Thank you for your.
Yeah,
input.
actually, if they have the unit from the Spanish 4, and you know, if it sounded like it's part of the Spanish 4 curriculum, which means if I can just kind of go in and look at that, but again, that would be a Spanish 4 class, not someone who's taking it as an elective who's never taken Spanish before.
Okay.
Lindsay, do you feel comfortable
thank
with
you.
it moving
Yeah,
forward?
yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, so it'll move forward at this stage and Linda will get you more information. We do
Cool.
need to wrap things up just because we have
Right,
the
it's
building.
five
committee
oh
coming.
one, yeah,
And I'm gonna do number 8 very quickly.
okay,
Okay, just a very quick update on some of our beginning of the year data and accountability as we have gotten our beginning of the year data, which is just basically doing our level setting, our baseline data. So that's been completed across the board. And in terms of accountability, we just have some really nice news to share where our accountability went from a 76 to an 80. Which is a nice jump for Region 13. And we want to celebrate tonight and we'll celebrate at the board meeting next week that the Memorial School was given a School of Distinction Award through the accountability system for growth in our high needs learners for English language arts. So we can end on a really positive, good news in terms of learning.
awesome, okay.
Liza, you know, how much work you're doing there.
Yeah, good. Next item is public comment. Okay, so hearing none, a motion to adjourn. Lindsay and Bob, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liza. Thank you.
Our next meeting is